Hey everybody, Thomas here. So it's been, let's see, I have 143 hours on the tractor. This is the Massey Ferguson 2705E. And just going over a few things. Again, this tractor is a solid workhorse. 90% of what I do is utilize the front end loader. As you can see on the truck right here, I've got these logs. And as you can see in my yard, I have logs everywhere. And all I do, well, mostly what I do with this tractor is load it onto the sawmill. In fact, right now the sawmill has a log on there that weighs roughly 2,600 pounds. So if you're wondering of the capabilities of the 2705E, I know I have lifted a 24-foot pine log. When I ran the numbers on it, putting into a wood calculator and everything, it was near 3,000 pounds. She lifted it up. Not much. She lifted it enough for me to get it off the ground. And that was when it was wet. And then I was able to let the log sit there for a few months and dry out a little bit. But this tractor has some oomph to it. So I think the stats say somewhere around 2,500 pounds. But she can do more. And I don't like to overload or anything. But if I have if I'm in need to move a log, this will definitely do it. Now, if you're lifting logs like that, you definitely have to have a set of forks that can handle it. So the Blue Diamond forks I got in here, these were rated for 4,500 pounds or 4,000 pounds. Okay, 4,000 pounds is what that one says right there. I have had these not only in my Massey Ferguson, but on my buddy's 50-something horse Kubota. When you have a set of forks, and the good thing is that these are quick disconnect, like skid steer type forks. They work on other, brands, which is awesome. So we've put them to work. One thing, if you're going to be using your loader a lot, you need to make sure you're hitting all these grease fittings, all these Zerk fittings. I hit them, I'd say about once a month. Maybe, if I ever hear any creaking, popping, I make sure to get on there with grease. You don't want to do too much. You want to do just enough. I mean, you can see I had a grease fitting that was just getting all over the place because I didn't have it all the way on there. But you don't want to overload with grease because then it'll collect dirt, debris. But just put a few squirts on there, and also on your axle, you've got some Zerk fittings and everything. Another thing I want to talk about on the wheels. The dealership told me this, and I wasn't thinking this would really be that big of a deal, but it's happened to me twice now. So you see all these nuts on, or all the bolts on here, they all have those lines across it. Well, you really need to check those quite regularly. The other day I was moving around and I kept on hearing this creaking and popping. I did my Zerk fittings. I kept on hearing this creaking and popping. I couldn't figure it out. I mean, I'm looking at the oil inside the reservoir, the front axle. I'm like, there's no metal shavings. So I'm like, where's this coming from? Well, it turns out some of those had backed out. And the reason they back out is because when they actually have the hub, when they're going through the whole powder coating facility and everything, sometimes the inside of those nut holes gets powder coated. Well, if you have a nut in there, or a bolt, excuse me, there's not a whole lot of coefficient of friction on powder coat, so long story short, they'll back out. So I make sure to check those about once a month, or unless you hear some kind of creaking and popping. And on this side, you'll see that there's one on there that's not from the factory because, yep, I lost it while going down the road of all places at like 20 miles an hour. And then I saw my front wheel start getting kind of wobbly. I'm like, oh crap. So make sure you're checking those. And that's something the dealership did tell me. And I was looking at other places around. I didn't think, oh, I need to be checking the hub. So that's just any tractor that's going to have powder coating, you could have that same issue. What else? Another big thing, and I've talked about this many, many times. If you are moving large logs, as I do for my sawmill and everything, you want to make sure that you have a heavy attachment on the back, as well as it's a really good idea to have fluid in those tires. So I'm a big supporter of having fluid in your tires. If you don't have fluid in your tires, you run the risk of toppling over. Now, right now, I do have the roll cage down. I know some people get upset about that. I had it down because I've been doing a lot of work inside of the garage and inside the barn, and just so I don't clip it, I've had it down. But if you're ever doing heavy load work and stuff like that, especially for loading logs and stuff like that, and especially if you're working on hillsides, you need to have that up. So shame on me for having it down, but I've been doing a lot of loader work and gravel work inside the garage. So I've had to have it down here recently just so I don't, you know, break things that I'm working on. I have not done it yet. I am going to do it at some point. I've talked about this in my other videos. The floor, the metal deck that you sit on, as you can see, where my feet are and where I'm moving around the most is where the paint is not there. I'm going to go ahead and do that in truck bed liner. On one of my videos I talked about maybe put a rubber mat down or something like that. No, you don't want to do that. Truck bed liner is the way to go. I'll scuff it up, I'll clean it up. I'll do a video on that at some point in the future, probably next month or so. I'll try to get something like that out. But yeah, the tractor has been performing flawlessly. She's a bit dirty right now. I've done a lot of concrete work with it recently, where I actually used the, let's see, what was it, the bucket. I think the bucket carried about 1/4 of a yard or so of concrete. So when we did a recent concrete pour, I did the washout into the bucket and then carried the bucket around to the back of the house and then did a little concrete area there. So enough talking. I've said a lot about this tractor, and I'll do some more reviews on this in the future. This is a quick down and dirty at the 143 hour mark, so I'm roughly at the 150 hour mark. Make sure you change your oil. You don't really have to change your hydraulic filter until much later on, but changing oil on this is real easy. Finding an oil filter that worked, that was not a Massey Ferguson, I will put it in the description to say what oil filter I put on here. Right now the number says 3402, and I think I got it in O'Reilly's. I will try to find out what brand it is. It took me a while to find an oil filter that would work, so I'll put something to that effect on there. The 4-cylinder diesel, like I said, and that's the same thing on my tractor. I've got a 4-cylinder diesel. A 4-cylinder diesel is a naturally balanced diesel engine. I am a big proponent of naturally balanced engines. A 3-cylinder diesel is great. I've had it on other sawmills before, I had it on other tractors, but you cannot beat the natural balancing on a 4-cylinder diesel. So this diesel, I think it's 48, 49 horsepower, somewhere in that range. But it also, again, I've talked about this before, going on and on about this, does not have the diesel particulate filter and this horsepower range, which is awesome. Stays super clean, one less thing you have to worry about on maintenance. So now I'm going to go into, I'm just going to show a little video of me hauling and moving some of these logs around, just to show you some of what I do with this. I'll probably throw it into a sped up video. I've done some other videos where you show lifting up massive logs. This sucker will do it. It won't even blink an eye at it. So I'll go ahead and put a time lapse together after this. It shows unloading these logs and then putting them on NDB. All right, so again, hope this has been beneficial to folks looking at Massey Ferguson 2705E. Fantastic tractor, had no problems. It has been a true workhorse. And again, for my application, 95% of the work I do is a front end loader. This thing's got a fantastic front end loader, and for the price that it's in, it's really hard to beat, and for the quality you get from Massey Ferguson. So hey, thanks, and we'll see you later. Okay, so if you just saw the time lapse, you'll see that I have 7 very nice looking sycamore logs here. This last one is huge. It's absolutely massive. Like 22 inches on the base here. Very big log, and if anyone's ever cut sycamore, they're actually really heavy. I don't know if they're retaining a lot of water, if it's just a dense wood, whatever it is. Again, sycamore, I believe it does have interlocking grain. Interesting wood to cut. Has a lot of flecking in it, but this is some very, very large stuff. Heavy, I should say. Not necessarily too large. There's a few on here that are nice and large, but it's nice and heavy. So some products to be made out of this. I don't know what, but now I think I'm up to maybe 9 logs of sycamore. So this adds to the wood pile. So yeah, tractor didn't even bat an eye at that. The 2705E is quite a a powerful tractor. Very happy with the performance of it. And just remember, if you're gonna be doing a lot of loader work, really anytime you're using a tractor, you should always go over and do all your Zerk fittings. You know, it'll just increase the longevity of your equipment and keep everything running in tip-top condition. Other than that, I guess that's about it. So more to follow. Enjoy, have fun.